Hey Space Engineers, I'm bringing you my top 10 tips and tricks for console players. I would appreciate if you subscribe, that will help me make more videos in the future. Alright, first tip, blueprint, blueprint, blueprint. That is a major tool you have in this game. Blueprint everything, blueprint grids, blueprint subgrids, blueprint everything. You can make it on projectors, and that brings me to the next point. Mod.io for console. Xbox players, you can make an account on Mod.io, link it to your Space Engineers. You can get blueprints from other people and learn how they build things. And you can learn a lot of building tips and tricks off of just how people build things. As you can see, I have a lot of blueprints. I have blueprints for drills. I have blueprints for everything. I have other builds like the Crescendo on here to see how they built that. Near infinite possibilities on Mod.io. It is a very useful tool. One example I can give you from looking at the Crescendo, shout out to those guys building that thing, is how to stagger these hydrogen thrusters and make the X and V patterns on them. A really efficient way doing ship Tetris is using a O2H2 generator. It has the side port here to connect in the side of that thruster, and then the one that is down here offset hooks into these side ports. So like I said, just reverse engineer things that people build. Tip number 2, name all of your blocks when you're making them. Um, when you start getting a lot of your other grids connected on connectors and subgrids off of those grids, it can become very confusing and disorganized. I like to make prefixes like the space station is SS and SSP, a small ship printer. So all of those are nice and organized in here. And sure, they might be color coded for different grids, but it can still get very confusing when you have something that you have placed in and you have multiples of them or something, so you don't know exactly which timer block to use to do what. And for ordering, I found that at the end of them or at the start, you can, I change the names of them and I add a 0 in front of the number, so it will be like 01, 02, 03, 04. And that way, once you get down to 11, then it stays all in sequential order. All right, on to tip number 3. You can get a USB keyboard. I got mine off Amazon. I think it was less than $20. We might be on console, but you can still use the weapons of the PC Master Race. And that allows you to quickly name blocks. For tip number 4, I have make a creative world. I name mine Redstone as a throwback to Minecraft, and it is just creative with all the threats shut off and all that fun stuff. So all you have to do is build things in just an open space or a one on Earth-like planet, and you can use tools like symmetry building, and it helps you really design a cool ship like Ragnarok here, and the ship for Patrick. And then all you have to do is blueprint it, just like my tip number 1 said, and you can use a projector to build it in your survival world. That way, if you forget to make a docking connector or put an antenna on it or something like that, you can easily test it in this creative world before you build it, and you forget that you didn't put jump drives on it or something like that. Tip number 5, use machines to do the work. Just because you have a welder and a grinder and a drill doesn't mean you should ever actually use them. So, you can make welding machines for small grid. You can make welder printers for large grid, small grid, all of them. And have them do all the work. You imagine welding up a berserker with a welder by hand? No, that's nonsense. For instance, in Ragnarok, I've designed the entire ship, so I don't have to go around and weld anything by hand. I can simply have the components to build a large grid welder. And then all you have to do is go in here, turn it on when it's connected to your conveyance off of the space station or whatever you have all your resources in, and the welder will pull through that conveyance, and I use the conveyance within the ship to build the rest of the ship, which builds probably a good 90% of it. And then when that's done welding, you just cut it off, and then you stick it on the next one, weld that on, stick it on that one, and so on and so forth. And you can make the entire guts of the inside of the ship, almost everything. And you don't even have to use your welder for everything else. There is not MasterCard, but there are welding ships. You can make welding ships. You could easily replace these compact, large grid welding ships, replace the welders with grinders. You already use probably miners to go out and get stuff. Use those to weld the rest of the heavy armor plating on. And these, if you put a lot of these small large grid storage boxes on it, you can actually hold quite a bit of stuff. Hydrogen power. I stripped the little protective armor off the top and the bottom so you guys could see it underneath, but you can make them pretty compact. If you want this, I'll throw it on Mod.io for you guys. Tip number 6, plan ahead and manage your resources. And by planning ahead, I don't mean by putting a motion sensor hiding under your friend's capital ship's cockpit and making the sound block play fun music for him every time he's in there. Just try to think ahead and think what you need to get next and manage your power on your stations. You can use event controllers for failsafes. See my videos for that. That way you can have them shut off your refineries and all that stuff if you're running out of power, or click on backup nuclear reactors if your hydrogen somehow runs out. Part of the planning ahead is you can ask yourself if you need to, are you going to need food, or how good are we on hydrogen, fuel? Do we need to get more ice? Do we need more uranium? Do we have everything, enough ammo to take on the Prototech? That's kind of, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but just thinking ahead like that, or what if, you know, not having all your eggs in one basket kind of a deal. Tip number 7, easy fix on a lot of things, is to use failsafes. Like I mentioned, you can have it monitor reactors or your power, stored power on your batteries on something, or fuel, and have it turn things off that don't need to be running. If your power's low, you could have it shut off your antennas, all of your big power producing things like your refineries, assemblers, all that stuff, until you can get that fixed, because the worst thing is running out of power and then having the server delete it. Tip number 8, streamline your builds. I have a lot of times gone in and, for instance, my destroyer here, I found works out a lot better as a freighter. Just as a quick example, here we have Fiel turning into a freighter. It's thought to build the cockpit on the front, but you could do simple things like, instead of using 9 interior blocks for a floor, you could just use a 3x3 slab. Or do you need all of the O2H2 generators on that grid, or just a couple do? Can you just get hydrogen at your space station or your base? Anything to do, remove weight, excess weight, or maybe reduce the PCU, or, you know, do you need refineries, or are you just going to refine at your base anyway? Those kind of things to streamline builds, making them look better. Just complete overhauls, renovations with all the new blocks that are coming out and have come out. Just some ideas. I like to streamline all my builds. Might be a silly no-brainer thing, but never fly directly at anything is tip number 9. And that is for miners or going to asteroids or coming back to your base or wherever. Always leave an overshoot path and just aim kind of next to it, because these things can get heavy and over travel and they'll creep up on you. I've seen so many people wreck ships and be very sad when their capital ship flies into an asteroid because they couldn't pull out of it. That also kind of goes for going after the Prototech. Don't jump directly to their coordinates. I mean, it kind of works out sometimes, but I've had a couple times where I've jumped in, even with Ragnarok, and found myself in a bad way, because where I jumped in, I was at a really bad spot. And It didn't work out, so I always like to just manually jump, close enough that I could kind of put in there and scout things out and make sure I have advantage. And for our 10th and final tip, it is like and subscribe and have fun. The universe is your oyster.
Like and subscribe. Thank you.